Dinosaur Man. Hello and welcome to the Dinosaur Man podcast. I'm Andy Hughes. I'm here with Alex Hudson.
I actually think we should change the name for this one.
Yeah.
Dinosaur Man Newscast.
Well, I was going to say news and reviews, which is normal, or news and no reviews, because, guys, this week we got a lot. Like, we've been busy the last couple of weeks with Christmas fun.
Yes.
Means we missed a lot of news. And we've been storing it in the filing cabinet, but fortunately, it's coming to the end of the year. It's due a clear out. Let's clear out that filing cabinet of news. Mainly because there's a couple of really big news bits.
We don't want to carry any news over into the new year. I just hit myself in the face with a microphone. It was bad. I feel like I had 3 weeks to prepare for this. And I feel like I am so unprepared that I hit myself in the face with a microphone.
What, you're hoping bloody your nose and therefore you won't have to record?
Well, let me put it this way. That wasn't part of the plan for this episode. And yet, it still happened.
So you take yourself out of the microphone and I just carry on just talking to you.
After 3 weeks of no news and reviews, I should be doing better than that. Realistically speaking.
Well, a better escape plan, really.
This is what is known in Simpsons terminology as a Lisa episode. And in Dinosaur Man parlance as absolute just skip to the end.
Everyone loves the news. We do so much news.
This is the thing, is that obviously it's a very difficult time of year because of, well, particularly for the majority of our audience are UK based, and obviously Christmas has now been cancelled by Oliver Cromwell.
Yay.
So I kind of feel like it's one of those things where this would have been perfect for those long drives to see your family. Unfortunately, local drives only, guys. You can only wait to listen to the first 10 minutes nonsense. I did say there was going to be zero nonsense this episode. This is not nonsense. This is real.
This is all, preamble.
Yeah. And then, hang on. So, preamble.
Yeah. Before we get to the...
would you say the majority of the episode is just amble, and then there's post-amble?
Yeah.
Where would you, on a standard news and reviews, where do you think preamble ends?
Never.
You think it's all preamble?
There's always
so we never get to the ambling?
Well, I feel like ambling,
or do you think there's just preambling aside the ambling?
Yeah. I feel like ambling has some kind of level of, professionalism.
Uh-huh.
I don't think we've ever hit that.
So is it like... Okay, so in the London Marathon...
Okay, yeah. I'm picturing it.
Whoa,
why am I in this chicken costume? That's just going to make me even hotter than I already am.
The pros set off first.
Oh, the sweat's pooling in my shoes.
Do you think they should...
Squelching for 24 miles. It's
Imagine
horrible.
a shoe that has drainage.
It would look like, what film is it where he has oil slick shoes? Goonies.
Okay.
Where he has shoes and he kind of taps them and they oil slick from the back.
Oh, yeah.
It would look like that.
Mm-hmm. Would they work?
Well, they wouldn't give oil. Unless people slipped on the amount of sweat that's coming from my bird costume.
It depends how oily your sweat is. Have you been marinated in olive oil first?
Well, if ever I have a tough workout, if I fall over, I just slide for an hour.
What I was saying was, it's like the marathon, where they let the professional runners all set off first.
Mm-hmm, so that's where I go.
Yeah, so interestingly, with this podcast, when you said it's all preamble, would you say that the preamble is the amateur runners of a marathon and the amble is the Mo Farahs of the world?
Yeah.
The Paula Radcliffes, if you will.
Yeah.
And I have taken a shit while doing the podcast, so that does work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you think you could do the marathon?
What's the post-amble of the podcast?
Just saying goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah, trying to get people
no, I couldn't do a marathon.
I could, but I think they're called Snickers nowadays.
That was an absolute Christmas cracker of a joke.
I think.
Yes.
Once a year, my dad makes a similar joke.
Oh, really?
Every year.
Yeah.
At some point, he will force an introduction into that joke.
Yeah. Which is weird because your dad doesn't even like caramel.
he's anti nuts in bars.
Yeah, he couldn't even eat a marathon. They've rebranded to Marathon again.
But the Snickers again still.
Oh, are they now?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. I thought they'd rebranded recently.
Maybe because they wanted to give him more option to...
A Snickers is... Okay, so here's the thing. A Snickers is fine, but it is a lot.
Although, the other day I had a craving for Snickers, and I still haven't, satiated that craving.
Haven't you?
No.
Okay.
Guys,
they're too
if you
much.
have a Snickers, can you deliver it to my house at Dinosaur Man HQ?
But I'm going to say that a filled chocolate bar is too much regardless.
And Mars bar.
Yeah, Mars bar's too much.
Mars bars are good.
No, Mars bars are too much. Again, it's about the density.
Although,
there's too much going on in it.
Interesting about Mars bars. So know how we get upset that
there's so much news this
when
week.
we were young guys, chocolate bars used to be bigger.
Yes.
And as you get older, chocolate bars have shrunk in size because, they want to save their money. And it's not
and
because...
also your hands have got bigger.
Yeah, it's not because our hands have got bigger. They have legitimately got smaller. Mm-hmm. Mars bars are the only chocolate bars to have benefited from that because their original size, they probably were too much. But at their new kind of 3/4 size is a perfect caramel and nougaty taste.
This may be the hottest take that's ever been delivered on a podcast.
Take that, Mr. Mars.
Take that, cereal. We think he was innocent of eating Mars bars.
Imagine that little snippet there is what makes this podcast take off.
Did you ever listen to Cereal?
Yeah, only
Did you?
Rice Krispies though.
Good. Yeah,
They
they're the only ones you can hear. Snap, crackle, and pop.
I said snack.
They can snack, crackle, and cock.
Wee.
You can...
Yeah, but imagine that taste.
Okay, popping candy as a cereal. Does that work? I suppose that is Rice Krispies.
Only one way to find out.
Do they pop when you're in the mouth?
No. What, they just little explosions in your mouth?
Yeah. Do they pop in your mouth?
They crackle.
In your mouth? Yeah.
That's going to be an enjoyable noise.
Rice Krispies,
yeah.
I'm talking about, yeah? Okay. Ricicles had the same thing, but no one said snap, crackle, and pop about those.
That's because they had Rick Ricicle.
Yeah, a famous character. Okay, should we get on with stuff?
Guys, do you want to hear some news?
Eesh.
Obviously, so today we're going to talk through a lot of news.
Yes.
And normally we would get then to reviews, but there are no reviews. There is news.
Yes.
But is there gaming news?
Yeah, there is. Cyberpunk's out.
Oh.
Spoiler alert.
Cyberpunk 2077.
A lot of people aren't happy. Yeah, sorry. This is the sequel to Cyberpunk 2076, which was this is the 2078th installment of the Cyberpunk series, in which you follow Cyberpunk himself.
Yeah.
I believe his name is CM Punk.
Yeah.
The wrestler.
Okay.
The C stood for cyber, M stood for malfunctioning game, and punk obviously stood for the genre of music he loved.
Shots fired. So why are people upset about Cyberpunk 2077? So
it's broken!
So it's supposed to be this great big open world kind of...
Yes.
You can do anything sort of world.
It's supposed to be a bit like Grand Theft Auto, but also a bit like everything else. Mm-hmm. And it's got loot boxes in it, maybe?
I don't know.
And it's got microtransactions in it, definitely.
It's got Keanu Reeves in it.
Well, I'll tell you what else it's got in it. Bad frame rates, glitchiness, and also a couple of installments that don't even work properly at all. So...
Oh, sorry, I just heard the cries of CD Projekt Red from here.
So, reviewers were sent the PC version of this to review, which is relatively bug-free, but not perfect, apparently. And the reviews came out, and it all seemed great. Everyone was saying, this is a great game. This is, worth the 8-year wait or whatever since Cyberpunk 2076. Now, what they didn't realize was that if you play this game on the current generation of home consoles, so Xbox One and PlayStation 4...
Yeah, well done.
They don't work. Well, there are glitches and bugs that become apparent through that. They are less noticeable when you're playing the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One copies on future generation consoles, which are PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X or S. But they are getting their own versions next year.
No date.
No date given. But at this point, they're taking away the other ones anyway, so maybe no one gets to play them. So widespread issues have been reported and videoed and put online to shame CD Projekt Red into some kind of action, which they do not apologize for. Mainly because this probably is the result of my favorite type of chocolate bar.
They have apologized.
Crunch.
They have apologized for the state of the game.
They should have apologized for the crunch that they made people do first,
True.
which this is the resulting issue of, surely. If people have to work to meet and look, this is completely separate to film, but if you look at film and you think, right, so when something isn't ready, what do? They delay the movie.
Yeah.
They could delay the release of... I appreciate they had to do it because their shareholders wanted them to release it sooner rather than later because it had already been delayed significantly. But this is what happened. Is it worth the bad publicity and also the fact that no one believes that your company is capable of running itself properly?
Well, look at, so obviously, people, there's a couple of things here. People have turned around and said, Witcher 3... by the same company, came out Buggy Mess, and that turned out to be Game of the Year. And this could follow the same track. But surely, you still have to go, okay, at some point we have to go, this game isn't working, we need time.
And they knew it wasn't working.
The second point is that the damage that can be done at the start of your game can be detrimental to its future. Look at No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky came out, and it had none of what it promised, and was publicly derided. Now, anyone who carried on playing that game, and it now is the game that was promised, it has all these features, absolutely love it. But there's so many people that use No Man's Sky as an example, like now, of things that didn't work.
I played No Man's Sky, didn't like it.
But, some people, if that's the kind of game you want, then people love it. But the damage that was done in the start of that game cannot fix it to be the kind of thing that it could have been. The third point is, if this game does not work on the current gen consoles, or past gen as they probably are now, like Xbox One and the PS4, don't release it on there. Just turn around and go, we're releasing this as only a PC game right now. The other version will come in the future, because people do it. They do it where they release it on one thing, and then they go, okay, and later we'll implement it somewhere else.
So the issue for me lies in the fact that they have willfully manipulated their audience. Because they have sent review copies, PC-only review copies.
But this isn't the first time this has been done.
Yeah, I know, but it shouldn't be less of an issue that this is not the first time.
No. I'm not
because it's not unprecedented. Doesn't mean this is fine now. It means if this is the norm, then your industry is broken.
Oh, absolutely. But remember that,
and this is aside from the sexual harassment at Ubisoft. This is aside from the microtransactions issues. This is aside from the loot boxes or lottery boxes or whatever they call them. It's aside from all the fact that these evil companies, evil, and I'll say evil. Why can't they just play a nice game like Minute?
Minute was fun.
Minute looked like fun.
I had a great time playing Minute. Minute's my game of the year, despite not coming out this year.
Can't be. You've got. In fact, this is the time. You're not doing it on the review of the 2020, by the way.
Okay, this has to be my
video game of the year now.
Well, it has
the only one you've played that has been made this year.
The only one that came out in 2020 is that I played this year is Carrion. So Carrion is game of the year.
Okay. It's also weirdly worst game of the year.
I think Minute may be one of my favourite games this year, just because it was fun.
But this is the thing, is that if more games were like that, I'd have less of an issue, because they don't seem like there's much evil involved in those. There's probably horrible levels of crunch. And
who knows what happened behind it?
And probably the creators in Evil Man or something. But it's when it's these sort of,
monolithic.
We were saying yesterday, how many fucking adverts for Cyberpunk 2077 are we going to see? We were watching a video game. We were watching a video game, and we were watching a football game, and there were I think
there's one every advert break.
I think at least it feels like there's more than one every advert break. But the issue is when you've got this constant stream of this is game of the year, this is game of the year, and you've sent these copies out, and everyone's given you a 9 out of 10 review or whatever, and then you go, and also for 2/3 of the buying audience, it's not that game,
Well, I think
you are lying to your audience.
There has to be retroactive reviews, I feel, because of the fact that, and I know it's bad to say this because but once again, filming games are different. So, because, for example, Crash Team Racing came out and they gave everyone the review copies, and then after the reviews were out, they implemented the microtransactions into the game, which was basically you change the game after it's been out. Now, film, you don't do that. Film, you get what you see, and then, later on you might get like a director's cut or something, but you get the film.
Snyder cut, if you will.
But you get the film as it is, and that can be reviewed in that moment. But games, I feel, there has to be like this retroactive review, and also the fact that you've got people playing these 80, 90-hour games, and you've got to review it in the first few days. How do you get a real feel for what that game is? The gaming industry is on fire.
Yeah, and look, there's not enough time in the world for this, because this is a different podcast.
Yeah, maybe I'll start a new podcast next year.
Okay, so
I might promote in the Dinosaur Man feed.
We've joked about this before, but obviously the only gaming opinion I care about, other than yours, because you're my only gamer, is Jimmy. Famous Jimmy.
So you say if I can get Jim Sterling on a podcast, you will talk about...
Well, I think he talks about the video game industry in a way that is intelligent and also accessible. I think he's able to communicate what the problems are. And the thing is, are there fixes to this? Yes, but what are they? Who knows?
Yes, but
because the deep-rooted issues are so deep-rooted that to offer a solution is going to be shot down by someone because it's not seen to be doing enough to counteract these issues, or it's shot down by someone because it's too draconian, or it's too, it feels like it's,
or it doesn't make enough money.
Yeah, and the problem is that the whole industry is suffering from this, and these sort of indie games that you've been playing recently, is Carrion an indie game? Yeah. So things like Carrion, or things like Minute, or things like what's the one you're playing at the moment? Celeste. That seems like quite a small game. Are those the video game experiences that are the ones that you can enjoy relatively guilt-free?
Well, one of the best games apparently this year is Hades, which was made with a fairly small team.
I've seen an advert for this on the Switch. Maybe
I think it's technically an indie game, and it's like, maybe we should just keep supporting games like that. Although at the same time, the big games are the kind of ones that create the buzz. Yeah, the video game industry is broken. That's the main part of it. And there's a lot of bad shit there. And Cyberpunk is just another kind of what's the word? Symptom.
Yeah.
Of the disease that is video games, because the only reason that's out now is because somebody needed the bottom line to look good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only reason.
So obviously, all this being said, 10 stars out of 10. Haven't played it, but I presume it's amazing because everyone says it is. And those reviews wouldn't lie to me, would they? They wouldn't be on a version that I'm not necessarily buying.
The reviews are all that good.
Oh, okay. I assume they're all 9 out of 10.
I actually don't think the reviews... I think the Metacritic isn't good, because there was a thing about...
Let's find out.
The bonuses for the team that made it were based on their Metacritic score.
Oh, really?
Yes. So they had to get like 90% on Metacritic or something like that. And that was changed afterwards. And I think it's because people went, you cannot crunch your staff and then expect them to be relied upon.
87.
Okay, that is probably too good for what it is.
Based on 71 critic reviews. User score 7.1, which is based on 22,300 reviews.
20,077 reviews.
Oh my god.
Shall we move on, though, because we have got
probably
other stuff to talk about.
This
I don't know if we were supposed to talk that long about that. But
no, I actually forgot about video game news until we were about to start.
It's all news all the time, guys.
Okay, so let's move on. So there's 2 really big stories, then we might have time for other stuff, but actually it's not really important. Okay. Tell you what, I'll bust out a few quick ones first of all. Let's do that instead. So let's go from the back end.
Okay, guys, this is the speedrun round.
Okay, I just want a couple of sentences from you.
I am Sonic, I am Speed.
You are Sonic, winner of best fucking animated feature or whatever. Millie Bobby Brown is attached to star in the science fiction movie The Electric State for Universal Pictures, with Anthony and Joe Russo directing and producing, based on the illustrated novel of the same name that is called a comic strip. It's actually an illustrated novel, though. It's set in an alternative future, centers on a teenage girl, Brown, who realizes that a strange but sweet robot who comes to her has actually been sent by her missing brother. What do you reckon?
Cool. It's like Short Circuit meets Terminator.
It says here, the Russo brothers said in a statement, it's Short Circuit versus Terminator, they said. Weird.
Who wins that race?
It says here, we made this with one man in mind, Andy Hughes. We always make all of our films with him in mind. We hope that this is no different.
Perfect.
Okay, you're in?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure. It's probably on Netflix because we all know Millie Bobby Brown.
No, this is Universal.
Yeah, but we know Millie Bobby Brown's going to get on Netflix.
Well, it depends. They might have to sell it on if no cinema's open. Hey, Marv are planning 7 Kingsman films, according to the new CEO. So Marv Group CEO Zyga Kamasa has said that filmmaker Matthew Vaughn is plotting something like 7 more Kingsman films. Now, something like 7 might be 1,
be 12,
might be 25, something like 7.
Imagine,
something like 7 means a number.
Like, when I say, like, oh, I'm going to have something like 7 Pringles from the tin, I'm eating the tin.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I'm eating your tin and all. You pass that. They're actually called sleeves, I believe.
Oh, can I just have a Pringle? How many do you want? Something like 7. A handful later.
Yeah, and then an entire tube later, you're lying on the sofa and you got all these empty Pringles tubes around. You're like, I did have 7 individual sleeves of them. So we want to grow the business and the output, Kamasa told the Winston Baker UK Finance Summit last week. We have a Kingsman TV series in the works, and there are 3 other franchises. 3 is 23, mate. That are being developed alongside the Kingsman world.
Yeah, don't want it.
So, through 2 movies, the Kingsman franchise has grossed $825 million. Is it any wonder that Marv, who have this and now maybe nothing else, because I don't know if they're making another Kick-Ass anytime soon.
Yeah.
So the latest film, The King's Man, is due to hit cinemas in February, although I think that release date actually has changed.
Probably, they all do. Never give release dates.
I'm sure it was, but that's fine. So what do you reckon to that? You don't want that?
No, I didn't like Kingsman 2. Which is a shame because I really like Kingsman 1. Maybe I'll give Kingsman 2 another go. Maybe I won't. Probably not. I've got a lot on, guys.
It was your most disappointing of a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
so.
And I think I don't really want to go back.
It's been pushed back a month, the release. So, there we go.
To March.
It is now being released. Let's get the actual date here, just in case anyone is interested. King's Man will move back to the 12th of March, 2021.
The silence is deafening.
What did you say?
March.
Oh, okay. I actually just thought you were saying March.
No, there was a V in there.
Free Guy is now moved back to May 21st, 2021 as well. And Death on the Nile is now September the 17th, 2021.
And let's all expect those dates to change.
Well, Death on the Nile was one of the last holdover. Like, that was one of the few films that was holding on to its, I think it was end of November, wasn't it? And it didn't get announced that it was getting pushed back for ages and ages. And then, like, a week before it was supposed to come out, they went, oh, because nowhere's actually open, we've got to.
We can't really open this. Okay, speed run.
Okay.
Keep that news gun firing.
Chris Pine is in talks to star in Dungeons and Dragons for E1 and Paramount. What do you reckon?
Really like Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Be really interested to see what they do with this, but I really don't think a Dungeons and Dragons film can work because I think the beauty of Dungeons and Dragons is having yourself invested in a story that you create and mold yourself, that is all based upon your decisions and what you do.
Yeah.
Having a Dungeons and Dragons movie just becomes generic fantasy action.
Yes.
And while, yes, there are stories within that could be portrayed like, there are stories that are there, like, the Curse of Strahd or, Waterdeep, and that kind of place. And those places are living, breathing things that you can build. At the same time, the reason those games, the things I remember when I play are not, the story did this for me, but more, I did this and the world reacted to me in this way.
Sure.
So I think, yes, great. Mm-hmm. I like Chris Pine and I enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, but do I think a film can work? I think it misses the magic of what the game is.
Directed by Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, who directed Game Night and were two of the co-writers or did a treatment of the first Spider-Man movie, Homecoming. Mm-hmm. Next one. Oscar Isaac is set to star in Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid adaptation.
So this is interesting because this was rumoured. I think somebody said, I would like to see Oscar Isaac as Solid Snake. The director, Jordan Vogt Roberts?
Yes.
Was like, I would love to see that. And then went and tweeted at Boss Logic, who's a poster creator, and went, mock this up for me. He created this picture, and he was like, that's badass. And then it just so happens that he's been cast down the line. It's almost as though he's just gone, that would be great. Let's see if he's interested. Oh, he is, and he would look great. Metal Gear Solid is really interesting because I've only really know like the first game properly.
Yeah.
Because I watched my brother play it so many times. But I know that series goes places and is really weird.
Yeah.
So it depends how Kojima they're willing to be with it because, as a game developer, he is crazy. Like, he creates these amazing ideas and he has really cinematic ideas. How much of that are you willing to put in this and maybe alienate some people, or are you willing to alienate some Metal Gear Solid fans by not being weird?
I 100% guarantee they're going to alienate the Metal Gear Solid fans to make a generic action movie that they can then try and turn into a franchise.
Yeah.
That just feels like that's the way it's going. But it's Jordan Vogt Roberts, and I think he's a good director. He obviously did Kong Skull Island, which we really liked. Did Kings of Summer, I think, as well, was his. He's a good director, and that's exciting stuff.
And I
probably
really like Oscar Isaac, so...
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that Oscar Isaac is now having to go back to get a new franchise movie, potentially, to go alongside all the stuff that isn't going to necessarily make him huge amounts of money, which was all the stuff that he was doing before he was cast in the Star Wars movies as well. So he's sort of going back to his roots and then having to top it up with a bit of studio cheddar.
I think a lot of actors do that, where they go,
absolutely.
I'm going to get the money makers and then do some stuff for me as well.
Right, that'll be it for the quickfire round. It wasn't that quick, was it? We'll see.
Quicker than it could have been.
Okay, so let's talk about the big news of the last month. It's been a while. So earlier on in December, start of the month, HBO Max and Warner Brothers announced that the entire slate of Warner Brothers movies for 2021 were going to be simultaneously available on HBO Max as well as in cinemas. So this includes all of the following. I won't do all of them, don't worry, but some sort of big ones are Mortal Kombat is a big one.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Tom and Jerry, Godzilla vs. Kong, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, In the Heights, Suicide Squad. I swore that was the year after. I still cannot believe that's next year. Dune, Elvis, Untitled still, King Richard, Matrix 4, Judas and the Black Messiah. Like, there is a lot of stuff here.
Some huge films in there as well. Like, think about things like Dune and the Matrix, like, in terms of scale, huge.
So, this is, let's see. We'll go with the Warner Brothers statement first of all.
Yep.
And then we'll go through all the other stuff. So, Warner Media Chair and CEO Ann Sarnoff referred to the model as a unique one-year plan. Executives of the company have stressed that the initiative isn't expected to continue into 2022 or beyond. It's considered a temporary solution in response to the global ongoing health crisis. We're living in unprecedented times which call for creative solutions, including this new initiative for the Warner Brothers Pictures Group. No one wants films back on the big screen more than we do. We know that new content is the lifeblood of theatrical exhibition, but we have to balance this with the reality that most theatres in the US will likely operate at reduced capacity throughout 2021. And I think we can probably say 2022 and 2023 as well. That will probably still be the case. This is the thing, is that normal is just never going to be recaptured in the same way, I don't think. But we'll see. So that is part of their initial statement. There's obviously a lot of other stuff that's come out about this. But so their plan at the moment is it will be, they haven't given the full details, but it will be available. So all of these films will be released theatrically and on HBO Max same day.
Day and date.
There is that's the interesting thing, is that there's no. So, for example, with Wonder Woman, the situation with Wonder Woman is it's out theatrically here now.
Yeah,
it's out theatrically in China now. It's out theatrically in the States on the 25th. It's on HBO Max on the 25th, and then will be on there for a month before then leaving HBO Max and being exclusive in cinemas for another month.
Yeah.
And then will be available for premium VOD, including in the UK. When's the UK one? I think it's the 13th of January where you get it on premium VOD. But that's for that individual thing. Deals for this, in terms of how they're going to structure it, I would imagine will be worked out on a film-by-film basis, potentially.
Yeah.
But there's no actual specifications about what the length of time is.
So Wonder Woman was negotiated separately to the rest of this deal because it was...
Yes, Wonder Woman was done as its own thing.
Yeah, they needed to do it. While the rest of them... So the big sticking point seems to be the fact that... So that's Warner Brothers' statement. And the big sticking point from that seems to be that the communication from Warner Brothers to the creators and the... producers and all of these kind of thing of these films that are in here that we listed before were not informed of this decision before it happening. So nobody who is involved in these movies were informed that these movies are going to HBO Max and not going to be cinema only experiences to begin with. And I think that's where we start to hit the kind of opposition to this model.
Yes. And there's been plenty of opposition from some filmmakers. Some have come out in support of this decision. Some have come out against it. The big issue, I think, is going to be with... so there are going to be legal implications with Legendary, particularly because they've got interest in two of the films. Certainly two. I don't know if it's more, but I know that for Godzilla vs. Kong and Dune... where Godzilla vs. Kong, they've stumped up 75% of the budget for that movie because it's their franchise that Warner Brothers hold the distribution rights to, which is why they're able to do this, because it falls under distribution.
Yeah.
So it's about the legality of the move in terms of how it affects future earnings, how it affects initial earnings, and how it potentially affects the market value of the film, or the market valuation they've put on the film, because they will have to. So moving their entire slate will either be done as one financial transaction or will be done as 17 individual transactions where they assign a monetary value to each film, and then they say, right, okay, so that 18 million or whatever is for, I don't know,
Godzilla vs. Kong.
Well, if it's 18 million, that is seriously... Well, maybe box office returns of King of the Monsters, maybe, who knows? But
so it's
either going to be that way round, or they're going to have to do it as one bulk thing and say, right, for these 17 films, HBO Max, the company, which is still part of the same umbrella company, but is a different one, so the finances are independent, are paying Warner Brothers Pictures X amount of money, 5 billion or whatever for all of them.
So for those who aren't aware, they clarify one of the problems with Legendary in particular, and the reason they're picked out is something that we talked about on the last news and reviews, which is Godzilla vs. Kong was offered to streaming platforms, and Netflix came and offered reportedly around about 220 million for it.
217 was the figure that was released.
And the issue is, so they were then told they can't sell this because Warner Brothers were taking this to HBO Max. Now, if HBO Max buy that for, say, 50 million, that means the market share that they could have got, they're missing out 150 million of what they could have made as a company. Now, the issue seems to be is that Warner Brothers are not offering these films out to find out what their market value are and then paying the market value. They are now just paying, and this is the problem, we don't really know exactly what they are spending on these films. So Legendary, for example, can raise a legal thing saying, we were offered X amount, you have not paid us this amount.
Then the thing that Warner Brothers will still have in their back pocket is that was 217 million or 220 million for the global distribution of that film. This is exclusive to one market rather than an international market.
Yeah.
Now, what we've seen since COVID hit and since the sort of recovery from COVID has started, particularly within China and within Japan, there have been huge box office successes that have come during this period of things going back into cinemas there. They clearly see the Chinese box office we've talked about before is hugely important, even to the point where it's drawing level with the importance of the US box office. If you get a hit in China, it can really benefit you.
Yeah.
So they're looking at this as being, well, we don't have HBO Max in China. We have absolutely no way of getting it out there on a streamer at the moment. So their best bet is to go, okay, well, we'll keep theatrical distribution as it was planned to be in China. We'll keep it that way in Japan. We'll keep it that way in Europe for the time being. And then we'll also introduce this possible idea of the premium VOD. With Wonder Woman, this premium VOD here, certainly, that's a new development.
Yeah.
That wasn't planned initially. It was going to be cinemas only. But I think the tier systems that they've instated here have meant that they've had to just do a slight repositioning of that and go, okay, we've got to be changeable as well. Which is completely understandable because you think about, so with these tiers that have come in, so tier 4 has just been introduced recently, and I think the majority of the countries under tier 3 regulations now. I can't think of the closest cinema to us that would be open.
Liverpool.
Yeah, I think
still a good, like, for those in
Liverpool and then Cornwall, maybe. Because Cornwall's down in tier 1 still, I think. So I think it's one of these situations where certainly on Wonder Woman as an individual film, that's a changeable thing that I think everyone involved in that is now relatively happy with the way that's being dealt with, because they know that it kind of had to come out to gain any kind of momentum in just shoring up whatever they have for the year. Because the problem is, you can delay it, but then we've talked about it before. When do you delay it till?
Because next year's so full.
You know, Warner Brothers got 17 movies next year. That's just Warner Brothers. Disney, Sony,
it has to be
Universal,
like more than 1 a month
Paramount.
at times.
It's just like, it's one of these things where you look at the next year and you think, nothing's actually been set proper dates yet necessarily. And there's so much stuff that's TBA, and you're just going, I don't know when.
And I fully understand why Warner Brothers have done this. I think the interesting thing is, I do think it is fairly self-serving at the same time. Like, for a company to be like, oh, we want to get our movies out there on these platforms, then you open it to you offer it to an open market, and you try and get them on the best platform you can, to make the most money you can as a studio. Christopher Nolan said something which I think sums up kind of how I feel slightly, which is, he says, we went to bed working for one of the greatest movie companies, and we woke up now working for one of the worst streaming platforms, because HBO Max isn't performing well. And I understand, what you're saying is this is one market, but at the same time, should you not be opening that market up to allow you to get the best price you can for these films, if you are that concerned about getting your movies out there? Because you could still sell it with the caveat of, this will come out theatrically at the same time, but it would also be on your platform. Like, that caveat can be on there, you can say.
But what I would say to that is, Netflix would never agree to that unless they held the distribution theatrically as well, because that's just the way they want to work now. When they bought up the Courtroom, Tales of the Chicago 7, when they bought up Trial of Chicago 7, they bought that from Paramount, not just for streaming release. Paramount could have still released that theatrically in whatever capacity they wanted to, but they sold the entire rights to it because they didn't feel like they could do that deal other than that. And Netflix, to their credit, gave it a theatrical release and then put it onto the platform. And I think there are certain streamers that might do that, but the ones that would let them keep theatrical rights are the smaller streamers that wouldn't have
the money,
that have less of a reach than HBO Max even.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really complex issue in that it's definitely the future of where this is going. And the one thing I don't necessarily agree with is that this will kill the cinematic experience. I don't think that is the case at all.
Do you think it will harm it?
I think it may harm certain multiplexes, and certainly, AMC have come out quite strongly against this. But AMC were in financial difficulties even before the COVID crisis hit. So if we're looking at this from a perspective of, will this damage the cinematic experience? It depends. Will I right? So when we come out of tier 3, when things are back to whatever normal is gonna be, will I still go and see movies at the cinema? Absolutely. I've been back in that break between lockdowns and really enjoyed that experience, even for films that weren't great. The second movie I saw in the cinemas was New Mutants, which is fine at best, but I enjoyed the experience of actually going back and seeing it on the big screen. There are a huge proportion of people who will still enjoy doing that. And I think there will always be an appetite for theatrical distribution. What I think this is going to do in the long run, because let's not forget that this is not the only streaming service that will end up. This is not the only studio that will end up doing this. Yeah. We've seen it with Disney this year, with Mulan, with Hamilton. It is a case of we will take stuff that we think we have to put there because it's just not going to get that reach at the moment. And it's a short-termism plan from them, and it's alleged to be a short-termism plan.
It won't be.
But Disney have already announced that Raya and the Last Dragon is also going to be a premium VOD on Disney Plus, or whatever they call it, premium access or something they call it. But that won't be the last of their stuff that goes there.
No, of course not.
The sequel to Enchanted could have been released in the cinema, without doubt, because that is a film that has this cult following that made the first film a lot of money. Is it called Enchanted? Yes.
Yeah.
The Amy Adams one.
Yeah.
The sequel is called Disenchanted. That's going straight to Disney Plus now, they've decided. I don't think that was ever going to be the case until this year.
You've got to pivot your market.
Exactly.
And I get that, and I do, and I just hope that it's not that, because obviously I think we were on Talk Review speaking about this last week, and in there I mentioned, some of the concerns of these filmmakers, which is people saying, not having it solely on the cinema screen ruins the effect that film can have first time, because you've got people, I design film. I think Denis Villeneuve was like, I design films for cinema screens.
Yes.
And that's how it should be seen, and this means that people won't. The flip side to that is more people can watch it at home. Like, all those people who aren't going to the cinemas can now see your film, and does it get you a beg to market that way? There was a concern about digital piracy, but digital piracy is a problem that...
Well, this is the thing, is that piracy exists from leaked copies of, even if it's not a case of, it's got a home release, so therefore you can get a 4K resolution version. We've seen leaked copies of major motion pictures that are not being released digitally for months afterwards, leaked at the point that the thing comes out in the cinemas. This is not a new problem. This is not something that this is the only perpetrator of. And it's never going to stop.
And also, one of the things about piracy is a result of a lack of access.
Yeah, and if you're saying to your audience, okay, so for whatever it is, $10.99 a month, $12.99 a month, you can have this service, and over the course of the next year, you're going to get 17 films. You look at some of those films, you go, realistically, how much of an audience is there for the, Sopranos prequel?
Yeah.
Not necessarily a huge one. Certainly not a No, I was going to use Dune as an example, but I actually don't think that that's the best example. Godzilla vs. Kong might be the best example. I don't know. That may be the biggest hit financially. Or maybe even the Conjuring one, because the Conjuring movies make money. I think the issue comes from the fact that, okay, so the two big voices that have come out against this are Tenet, Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve. And the thing with Denis Villeneuve is, I love his films, and I think he's phenomenal as a filmmaker. I don't know how much money Dune is ever going to make if you release it theatrically worldwide, but from a business point of view, I can see that this is actually this is a decision that they can make and go, okay, well, the people who still want to see that Denis Villeneuve film on the big screen will probably still go and see it on the big screen. I'll go and see Dune on the big screen because I want that experience.
I want the biggest sandworm I can bloody get.
There might be people who have no interest in Dune as a franchise, have never necessarily seen a Denis Villeneuve film, and go, oh, Zendaya's in this movie.
Yeah, let's pop it on
Let's
TV.
put it on HBO Max or whatever. And then they watch it, and then... I don't think there's a right or wrong side here. I think the way it's been handled by Warner's media is suspect. Okay, I'm going to basically say by AT&T potentially. The way that they've handled it is potentially quite suspect. However, as time goes on and they're going to have to thrash out individual contracts in terms of... And the unions have come back and said, okay, well, we're not happy with the remuneration that's been offered here, and we will not be accepting this. There will come a point where they may well get to the, if the first couple of things they manage to strike deals for then do well enough in terms of international markets, they might look at it and go, oh, okay, well, we can pay out more to you on this basis.
Yeah.
The forecasting of the figures is going to be important. But it's going to be one of these tricky situations where once it's happened, you're going to have to thrash out individual contracts with individual creatives on everything. But that's going to be the way that the industry moves to, without doubt, because we're going to see this is going to become much more of a regular part of movie making.
I think that was a pre-situation, like a pre-2020 situation, like everything moving in that direction with all these studios trying to give themselves a streaming platform.
Yes.
So it was always moving in that way. And maybe this is literally just, they're the first ones to do it, so therefore they're the ones that people recognise have done it. Yeah,
exactly. And, Disney have got Disney+. Warner Brothers have got HBO Max, kind of, but not, but you know what I mean.
I'm pretty sure there's a Paramount Plus.
Peacock is Universal's thing. Well, it's NBC's thing, but it's, all owned by Comcast. And you wouldn't be surprised if they start bringing in more and more film stuff to Peacock as a way of sort of...
Yeah.
Or potentially changing the name of Peacock to reflect the fact that it's going to have more movie stuff on there as well. I don't know. But you're going to see that, Sony may well find something that works for them. And what they've said, who was speaking? It was Patty Jenkins was speaking to Aaron Sorkin about this and saying there's going to be a studio that becomes the studio that does it the old school way. Now, that may well be the case. And she says, oh, well, the filmmakers will go there. The filmmakers will go there, I think, but the filmmakers will also potentially stay with the people who've made them a lot of money in the past. I don't know that James Wan is going to leave Warner Brothers.
Yeah. The filmmakers will go to the film studios that make their films. Like, there are some that will hold out and be like, I'm only making movies for this studio. But also, so in the Heights, I think,
yes.
The reason why they're annoyed is because they shopped that around to a lot of places, and they went with Warner Brothers because they're offering us the best opportunity to make this the best film we can. And actually, like, if another studio turned around and said to, Lin-Manuel Miranda, say Sony and gone, oh no, we'll make that for you and we'll give you X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be at Warner Brothers. They're not there because they are Warner Brothers men. They're there because they were offered the best deal.
Yeah, and I think it depends. And, Christopher Nolan will probably leave Warner Brothers as a result of this. Mm-hmm. And that's a big issue to Warner Brothers in terms of the amount of money his films generate. Denis Villeneuve is less of an issue because his films don't generate that much income. You look at Blade Runner, and I love Blade Runner 2049. I think it's a phenomenal film.
I heard it's really buggy on current-gen consoles, though.
It was... I saw the PC copy, to be fair, but it wasn't a film that was seen as a huge commercial success.
Yeah,
despite the critical acclaim and the awards and everything. And this is where it stands: is that Tenet is a film that has prompted this move. Mm-hmm. It certainly, I think, it's expedited this move now, because I think this move was always in the pipeline, but Tenet was the thing where they went, okay, that's the result we're going to get if we try. Sure, things will be different next year. Slightly. It won't be back to normal. 2022, maybe. 2023, maybe. I don't know how far away we are from whatever the new normal is going to be. What I know for a fact is that there will not be the levels of audience members going to the cinema that there were before 2020 in 2021. That is a guarantee. And let's not forget that the numbers of people actually going to the cinema for the majority of movies was dwindling pre-2020. Yeah. It is a dying industry in terms of that. And that's why you see the big multiplex franchises, the ones with the bigger overheads, are the ones that are in financial trouble. Whereas I think, so for instance, in Nottingham, at the Broadway cinema, that cinema is usually really full whenever I go and see a thing. But that's because I get to see Aliens re-release there.
Yeah.
I get to go and watch The Lighthouse there. They're not showing that on 7 screens at Cineworld. And why would they?
Although I did see The Matrix at Cineworld, which was great.
But this is what I mean, is that things like that will pull the audience in, of course. But where there's a limited audience, but still an audience that is enough to maybe sustain that business, they'll always be going back to the places that they know they can get that experience, if they care about the experience.
Yeah.
I think that's where it stands. Anyway, we should move on from this because it's such a big thing.
And we will probably come back to this at some point when more is fun. We did say, guys, that there's a couple of news stories that all kind of dominate this episode, and that was definitely one.
That wasn't one of them. That was still the quickfire round. Okay, so let's talk about. So just on Warner Brothers while we're talking about it. So Justice League Snyder Cut is apparently going to be rated R.
Can't wait.
And there's also rumours that Jared Leto has done Homeless Joker for it.
Brilliant.
This is what we heard from our friend Dan on Talk and Review.
Find him on YouTube at Talk and Review.
Yes. So it might get an R-rated theatrical release complete with Batman saying the F word. I mean...
Batman just being like, look at my dick!
So this is... Yeah, so the filmmaker revealed that the new footage he's shooting for the director's cut of Justice League will tip the miniseries over into an R rating. Here's one piece of information nobody knows. The movie is insane and so epic, you can tell it's the Zack Snyder quote, and it's probably rated R. That's one thing I think will happen, that it will be an R-rated version for sure. We haven't heard from the MPAA, which is America's certification board, but that's my gut.
So I spoke about this on their stream last week, and I was like, the thing is, every new thing I hear about the Snyder Cut, I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, it's just absolute, just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. I genuinely don't think this film is anything like what the original vision was.
No.
And I think they will continue to pretend it was, and everyone will keep towing the company line of Zack Snyder always had this amazing vision that we failed him by not producing, but now look at it, isn't it? This is amazing.
Yes.
I am very interested to see whether this is an absolute car crash. But I kind of hope it works out well, because why not? Like, I'd rather sit through 5 hours of good stuff than 5 hours of bad stuff. Seems I'm going to sit through it anyway.
Yeah, it's like, the thing is, it's this weird thing where it's like this weird juggernaut we can see coming from a mile away. We know it's coming. We know, at least for the podcast, we're probably going to see this movie. And yet, you know, they're releasing it theatrically as well as on HBO Max now. And it kind of feels like, you know, we know it's here and we know we're going to have to watch it. And it's just this weird gravitational thing where more and more stuff is flying towards this juggernaut as it walks towards you. And you go, that's too much stuff.
I am the woman tied to the railroad tracks while the Machiavellian Snyder cackles beside me, and I'm hoping that,
And Zack Snyder's Justice League is very much the train coming at the screen. So that's, we'll see. I think it's got a proper release date. I think it's April.
We'll watch it when it comes out, guys. Promise.
So the other big
I'll do a whole episode on it or something.
So the other big story of the sort of break that we've had after these special episodes, Disney had their Investor Day last week, 10th of December. It was, I think it was, which, because of the lack of any other things this year, meant that was where they unveiled all their plans for the future. Whereas normally they might have put some stuff at Comic-Con, they might have put some stuff at D23.
Yeah.
What they've done this year is they've basically just gone, we're going to hold on to everything and just announce everything at the end of the year because this gives us a clear idea. And Disney is one of the things where, even though their theme parks have been shut down for a long time now, and even though they haven't been operating they're still sustaining. And there's a reason for that.
Disney Plus has been a huge...
Disney Plus has been a huge hit, but also merchandising sales haven't slowed down.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of the founder, where Ray Kroc is told, you're not in the fast food industry, you're in the real estate industry.
I love the fact that
they are in the toy industry more than they are in the film or TV industry. And they know it. And what they've done is they've basically licensed themselves to print more money for the rest of time.
Only you can bring in Ray Kroc.
So
Mr. McDonald's himself into a conversation about
we'll go through a sort of overview with subheadings. So these are the things that were announced. So Hulu, which is their other streaming service that they inherited through the takeover of Fox. They're still planning on adding more sort of independent movies like Happier Season and like Palm Springs. And we'll still be streaming more and more stuff.
A Hulu film?
Hulu in the States, and then obviously it was released in whatever premium VOD format.
I didn't realise that, sorry.
Yeah, they picked it up from TriStar, I think, had actually funded it, and then they picked it up for distribution in the States. So in terms of upcoming Hulu projects, Disney's teased a few films and shows that we've heard about before, apparently, but we'll see. Upcoming comedy, Only Murders in the Building, with Selena Gomez, Martin Short, and Steve Martin.
They got them back together. The three amigos of...
Yeah, we all remember that Chevy Chase was played by Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
Was it Chevy Chase in Three Amigos?
Yeah,
it was, wasn't it? Where Kate McKinnon starring Elizabeth Holmes drama The Dropout, the Michael Keaton...
So that's an interesting one because it's about somebody who basically defrauded everyone by basically falsifying information, and she became like this great, like one of the greatest businesswomen of like our time, only to then be found out that they just lied about everything.
Yes.
And it could be really interesting.
To focus, so Holmes' rise to celebrity as the next Steve Jobs after dropping out of Stanford to focus on her blood testing company Theranos.
Yes.
And how she and her technology were later revealed to be frauds. So it was recently Holmes was recently the subject of Alex Gibney's documentary The Inventor, Out for Blood in Silicon Valley.
But yeah, it could be really interesting. And I like McKinnon. The weird thing about McKinnon is I really like her, but she keeps making stinkers.
Jennifer Lawrence has signed on to star in Adam McKay's movie about Elizabeth Holmes based on Bad Blood, which means we may get dueling Holmes projects. Although Adam McKay hasn't spoken about his version recently, so it may well not happen. Right, what else have we got? Michael Keaton, Peter Sarsgaard, and Rosario Dawson opioid crisis drama Dope Sick.
Okay.
And then, what else have we got? Disney promised that The Handmaid's Tale will return for its 4th season in 2021, and that it's already been renewed for a 5th.
Yes, saw that.
And in a big coup, Hulu has now but the Kardashians.
I guess that makes a lot of money.
Keeping Up with the Kardashians called time on its run this year, but that was in preparation for them moving over from E! To Hulu, where they've now got a global content deal multi-year deal that's going to start in 2021.
I have never seen the Kardashians, but I know that people like it.
Well, the thing is, this clearly sort of insinuates that they are planning on just doing things for all of the Kardashian families.
Yeah.
And, they can all just go to them and say, I want to do this. And then Hulu will go, yeah, probably. That was
sure,
fine. People will watch it. FX. So, let's see. What have FX got? New seasons of many of its shows are coming back, including Atlanta. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Just keeps trucking.
Yeah. Already known. So, The Old Man, which stars Jeff Bridges, is coming. Ryan Murphy's anthology series, American Horror Stories. BJ Novak's anthology series Platform, Taika Waititi's comedy about Native American teenagers in Oklahoma called Reservation Dogs. Lots of stuff going on FX. And the big news is that Noah Hawley, who developed Fargo and Legion for FX, is doing an Alien TV series with the support of Ridley Scott that is set in not too far in the future here on Earth. Do
you like the idea of that? As somebody who likes the Alien franchise,
I don't think we necessarily need to go back to that well. Certainly after Alien Covenant, I'm very reluctant to go back to the Alien well. I don't know what you could make that.
Timeline-wise, though, this sounds like it's going to be more in line with that kind of how did the aliens come about? And that's the kind of stuff that I'm not interested in. I like the stuff of Alien, where it's like, oh, there's this fucking creature that is unstoppable, and how do we survive it?
Yeah, so Hawley's previously discussed his pitch for the idea as focusing on the human drama of the Alien series. But the issue for me is, okay, so timeline-wise, I think the first film in the Alien timeline is technically Alien versus Predator. Because that features, like, the founder of the Wayland Company, Peter Wayland. Oh, God, I think it is. Anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. It's a bad film. Anyway, basically, that's the earliest version, which is set on Earth in the not-too-distant future from whenever it was made, 2004 or whatever it was. But that's obviously a film that had a lot to do already, and then decided we'll do it on Earth as well. It was a good tagline, though. Whoever wins, we lose.
I like good. Noah Hawley, though, so maybe he can pull something out that is interesting, and it's a franchise that has something at the heart of it that is really iconic and really great. I really want them to do something good with it.
I will watch it, if nothing else, out of sort of morbid curiosity. Yeah. If it just fails completely, I'll probably still watch it. But yeah, Noah Hawley, I really like Fargo, what he's done with that. I haven't watched all of the series, but the couple that I had watched, I really enjoyed. So we'll see. Okay. Lucasfilm. One of the big ones.
Star Wars,
one of the big ones. So, Lucasfilm, stemming from The Mandalorian, which has just wrapped up its second series this week, and you will be doing or last week?
This week.
And you'll be doing a review next week. So, certainly, well, technically now 3 series stemming from that. Yeah. So the 2 that were announced at the Disney Investor Day were Rangers of the New Republic and Ahsoka.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Rangers of the New Republic is.
So Rangers of the New Republic, is that something to do with Timothy Olyphant's character in the first episode?
Maybe. Who knows?
Well, I saw someone saying something like, let's start the petition. This is the thing, is because you're not necessarily a Star Wars fan, but you just enjoy watching The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Timothy Olyphant could be the Emperor for all you know. And you wouldn't clock it.
I only found out it was Boba Fett's armor like 3 episodes later.
So, yeah, those are going to be 2 Disney Plus series that come out of...
Ahsoka could be really great, because I really like that episode.
Which is the Rosario Dawson character.
Yeah, I think she's great.
Come through Clone Wars and Rebels.
And the fact that they're doing more of that character, I'm really excited for, because I was like, oh, I don't know how much she fits into this Mandalorian storyline now.
Yeah. But she doesn't need to, because it's all about this.
And that could be really cool. Mm-hmm. That episode made me want to go back and watch the animated series.
Do you want to talk about the 3rd spin-off, or do you want to talk about that next week? In case people haven't listened.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week.
Okay. So, Sooner than those two, though, is the Rogue One spin-off series Andor, starring Diego Luna. Well, exactly. Written by Tony Gilroy. So Kathleen Kennedy described this as a sort of spy thriller that's in production in London.
Do you feel that there would have been more of an appetite for a spin-off about Donnie Yen's character?
Yeah.
Rogue One, him and his mates.
Yeah, those two guys.
Yeah.
Like they were, or maybe a Saw Gerrera solo movie.
Were they lovers? Donnie Yen and that other guy? For some reason in my head, I feel they were dating.
No, because wasn't the thing that there was the first openly gay couple in Star Wars were the two nameless people who kissed in the background of a shot.
Well, then I ship Donnie Yen and the other guy.
What's shipping?
When you want those two people to get together, like,
oh, okay.
So like you're shipping two characters is like being like, oh, I'm actively wanting these two characters to get together. Same way people ship you and me.
Well, in a very different way
I've
to the way
seen all
that
the tweets.
CD Projekt Red shipped copies of Cyberpunk that weren't ready for playing.
Wow.
Great stuff.
You got everyone. There again, guys. Another dig.
So there was an update on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which is starring Ewan McGregor. Hayden Christensen is returning as Darth Vader. So this is set 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, and it's premiering on Disney Plus next year.
I would like to see just Darth Vader just absolutely like tearing house. That would be cool. Like, just see why Darth Vader is terrifying.
Yeah, like at the end of Rogue One.
Yeah, which is I think some of the best Darth Vader shit we saw.
Yeah, so that's happening as well.
I watched Rogue One again. So many things I want to rewatch, but I know I won't.
Lucasfilm also gave a preview of its animated series, The Bad Batch. Did you watch that?
Yeah, no idea what's going on.
This is from Clone Wars as well, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Had no idea what it was.
And then
I was watching it just like, yeah, this is a thing.
It's also working with anime creators on a series of Star Wars shorts called Visions.
Could be cool.
I
think, am I right in saying that's all kind of like Asian-inspired stories?
Yeah, so it's all supposed to be anime styled.
Yeah.
And it's all it's all going to
really
be
cool.
short stuff.
Because, so for example, Love, Death and Robots.
Yes.
Like, seeing stories that were all kind of in a similar theme, but were all different styles, was really cool.
Yeah.
And if they turn around and go, okay, we do something similar where the theme is Star Wars and the style is whatever you choose to do, that could be really awesome.
So there's also going to be a Disney Plus droid series called A Droid Story.
Give me my Gonk story.
And there's a Lando spin-off series.
Of course, sure. Why not?
Although they didn't actually confirm that Donald Glover's...
No, it's probably not. He's probably gone, nah.
And...
He's got enough stuff on.
Let's see. Russian doll creator Leslie Headland is directing a series, or has created a series called The Acolyte, which is a mystery thriller about the emerging dark side set in the High Republic era.
Ooh, I don't know what any of those words mean.
It says, AKA, we're getting a Coruscant show.
Ooh, I don't know
but
what
that's
that
where
means.
Dexter Jettster's Diner is.
So you could get your dream show as well as me.
Well, I don't think they're going to be brave enough to make the Dexter Jettster series. Feature film side. Disney confirmed that Taika Waititi's making its own take on Star Wars, which we knew. Patty Jenkins is directing Rogue Squadron. So recalls the name of the video game series. I don't know if it's going to be exactly that or not. But it is essentially about pilots.
Which could be fun because we get to hear the screaming TIE fighters, the best sound in Star Wars.
Yeah, true. Lucasfilm don't just do Star Wars, though.
They do, though.
Kathleen Kennedy mentioned that 3 other projects were in the works. Warwick Davis coming back for the Willow Disney Plus series. Tomi Adeyemi's novel Children of Blood and Bone is being developed by Lucasfilm and 20th Century Studios. And the 5th Indiana Jones movie, directed by James Mangold, will come out in July 2022. And it is confirmed that it will be the last time that Harrison Ford comes back for this.
And he will have a clause.
And not before time either.
Yeah, he'll have a clause that says you have to kill the character because he wants all his characters dead so they can no longer drag him back into this.
National Geographic.
Yeah. Talking about them.
We cover everything on this show. A bunch of new stuff coming to Disney Plus in a new installment of Genius about Martin Luther King Jr., a documentary called Secrets of the Whales, a Real Bug's Life, which is a nature documentary, as you may have guessed, America the Beautiful, which is Chris Hemsworth. Limitless is Chris Hemsworth challenging himself to do crazy things with his body.
Yeah, he's so crazy.
Darren Aronofsky series with Will Smith about the journey to unlock the secrets of this planet's most extraordinary unexplained phenomena.
Oh my god. Area 51.
So, which of those is more exciting than any Star Wars thing? Darren Aronofsky directing
Chris
Will
Hemsworth
Smith.
being so crazy.
Disney Plus TV series Mighty Ducks. We knew about the series.
Quack.
It is still continuing. Turner and Hooch series starring Josh Peck. A girls' high school basketball series with John Stamos called The Big Shot.
Not starring The Big Show.
And The Mysterious Benedict Society with Tony Hale and Kristen Schaal. And its big name bets, the previously announced Beauty and the Beast Gaston-focused prequel with Luke Evans and Josh Gad. Honestly, I'm reading about this for the first fucking time right now.
That's coming out.
And a previously announced TV adaptation of Percy Jackson and the Olympian series.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Interesting.
So that's coming out still.
Yeah, apparently so. Disney films. So, there is a Hocus Pocus prequel on the way. Zac Efron 3 Men and a Baby remake.
Yes.
And it is also doing, let's see, what else have we got? A Cheaper by the Dozen remake.
Yeah, it's some, I can't remember who's
from the Blackish creator, Kenya Barris. It will star Gabrielle Union.
That's who it was, yeah.
Disney is also making an animated Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. It's defrosting the Ice Age franchise, well done, for a movie called The Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild, and is making an animated Night at the Museum movie. Is that good?
Great stuff.
And Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers are back, and they are being voiced by John Mulaney and Andy Samberg.
That could be fun.
Robert Zemeckis' Pinocchio with Tom Hanks is coming to the service now. David Lowery's Peter Pan and Wendy is coming. And Disenchanted, as we discussed earlier. And finally, Whoopi Goldberg is going back with Sister Act 3.
Back to the habit.
We all like that, right? Okay,
Did
and
you like
then
Sister Act?
No, not really. I think the first one's fine, but I don't really remember anything of it.
I watched it a lot as a kid because my mum loved it.
Well, you're just a fan of nuns.
Yeah. And nunchucks.
But you never saw The Nun, weirdly. Okay. What of those are you excited for other than Rescue Rangers? 3 Men and a Baby starring Zac Efron?
Yeah.
He plays the baby.
I like Efron.
I reckon Josh Peck, as Turner.
As the dog in Turner and Hooch.
So, Disney Animation. Raya and the Last Dragon, which we discussed earlier, will be out on the 5th of March 2021 in theatres and for an added price on Disney Plus in Premier Access. Meanwhile, the animation department is churning out Disney Plus animated series based on its films. So shows called Baymax, as from Big Hero 6, Zootopia Plus, and Tiana, Princess and the Frog series.
Okay.
Yeah, and also a Moana series.
Yes, Moana.
So that'll be that.
I am down for more Moana.
And then, in addition to that, it's collaborating with the African entertainment company Kigali to create a Disney Plus science fiction series called Iwaju, which is set in a futuristic version of Lagos and will premiere in 2022. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
What else have we got? Yes. Okay. So, Lin-Manuel Miranda's new Disney animated project, Encanto, about a magical family in Colombia that lives in a magical home. Zootopia's Byron Howard and Jared Bush are co-writing and co-directing it with Carice Castro-Smith.
Could be fun.
Yeah. Who knows? Pixar.
Guys, you thought there wasn't much to go through in Disney. Disney got everything.
Pixar, yeah, this is less interesting than the Warner thing, but it is longer. Pixar. So they are announced. They've announced its own Disney Plus franchise spin-offs. Dug Days, which is about the dog from Up trying to make his way in suburbia.
Of course.
A Cars series about Lightning McQueen and Mater driving around the country. It's like diners, drive-ins, and dives, but they are cars. Win or Lose, that tells the story of a middle-aged a middle school softball team in the lead up to a big championship game. I wish that was middle-aged. Yeah. I wish. Just like Von Perlman. 40s. That's right. He's the most middle-aged man I could think of. Yes. Turning Red, which is about...
the big red panda. It's about a woman who...
Yes, the Red Panda series.
Yeah, it's about a woman who, when she gets embarrassed, turns into a giant red panda. I saw that the other day, and I thought, that can't be true, but I love it.
Yeah. So Disney. So Pixar's next feature is the film Luca, which is coming out in June 2021. Which is about two friends growing up in Italy. And then the director of Bao, Domi Shi, has been given her own feature, which is Turning Red. Okay, so and then finally Buzz Lightyear. So the movie Lightyear, which is the definitive story of the original Buzz Lightyear, similar to Buzz Lightyear Star Command, as far as I can see, which was the series about the thing which the toy was based on. Mm-hmm. Again, Toy Story is a license to print money, and Chris Evans will be voicing that.
I know you were unhappy because you don't like Tim Allen losing work.
Well, look, okay, so Tim Allen is problematic sometimes in his political views, and Last Man Standing, I think, has just ended. Mm-hmm. So it kind of felt like natural that but then again, Last Man Standing is a red state hit, right?
Yeah.
And we're coming to the end of a red state cycle, we think. I mean,
okay.
Nothing much democratic about the way Biden won the election, if you ask me.
Nobody thought we would dive into the American politics of Tim Allen TV shows.
But yeah, it's interesting that you sort of... Well, no, because if you think about it, in the early 90s when Home Improvement started... it was at the end of the Reagan and them original Bush era. Original flavor Bush was better than the new and improved recipe, right? I don't know. They both committed war crimes, I think. So, debatable. Sorry, allegedly. Parody.
Please continue.
We're safe from the lawyers.
We've still got a whole chunk of news to get through.
I just think it's interesting. You could draw some comparisons about that. The reason, during the Clinton era, it was less successful. That's what I'll say. Anyway, Marvel Studios, the one you've been waiting for. What time have you got a thing to...
No, I checked...
What time is the Villa game?
No, the reason I checked my phone is because I realised the room is getting darker.
Yes, I did.
And I'm like,
notice that.
I'm sure the sun doesn't go down till 3, 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So I wondered how long we had talked for.
So, currently 1 hour, 26 minutes.
Okay, guys, this is a longie.
They don't know that yet. Now that I've said it's 1 hour 26, now they know. Oh, yeah, definitely. They could have got that long drive in.
Shouldn't have done that nonsense.
Okay, so Disney saved its biggest stuff for last. So a new trailer for Disney Plus series WandaVision, which we'd already had a look at previously.
Looks great still.
It was a weird burp, sorry. Falcon and Winter Soldier trailer.
I saw a lot of people giving this shit. And being like, it just looks like Standard Marvel. But Standard Marvel is good. When did Standard Marvel become a bad thing?
Depends who you ask, bro. I'm a Snyder boy.
And this looks like it could be fun. You've got Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, who are interesting characters to play off each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's got action that looks very cinematic.
Yeah.
And actually, this could be a lot of fun. Standard Marvel is still a good mark to be hitting. Even the worst Marvel films are still fairly decent.
Sure. I don't know.
Okay, tell me.
I don't think I'd ever watch Thor 2 ever again. So Kevin Feige has described this as a feature film split into 6 episodes.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like. And I'm like, cool, yeah.
What else? Loki. First footage of Loki.
A lot of people went crazy for this one, but I think it's because it's Tom Hiddleston. And this is just Disney going, we cannot let that character die. Yeah. Although it does look like it could be fun. I'm very interested to see how kind of the mechanics of the series work and what it actually does, and how that kind of affects things. But, you know, I say that, I sound disparaging saying it's Tom Hiddleston again. I actually like Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing necessarily. Well, that's out in May.
Did you like it? From what you saw? Because obviously you're a man who doesn't really care about
I don't think I'll waste my time with any of it.
Yeah.
But I also won't waste my time with Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Of any of them. If you had to choose one...
WandaVision maybe looks the most interesting.
And I'm talking like all of them, like all the ones that are mentioned, like series-wise. Are there any that you go, I'm interested in that? In
terms of Marvel?
Yeah.
Maybe WandaVision. It kind of looks interesting. I'm interested to see what they do with it. Well, I mean, we're still working through it, so I'll let you know as they come up. Yeah, and then in the summer of 2021, we've got What If, which this kind of looks interesting enough. Again, I don't know if I'd have the patience for it because I don't really care about comics.
The premise of What Ifs are very interesting.
Yeah.
What if this had happened instead of this? And seeing those kind of visualized could be interesting. It could be the only way you're going to get stuff like Marvel Zombies because they're probably not going to do that on the big screen.
Yeah, and because it's animated, you can get away with it because you can sort of sand down some of the gorier edges.
Stuff like, what if T'Challa had been picked up instead of Peter Quill and became the Guardian of the Galaxy?
Oh, is that what that whole series is
and
about?
What if Hayley...
there's Captain Britain played by Hayley Atwell instead of Captain America.
If she had got the Super Soldier Serum instead.
Wrap production on its film Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is
I'm really looking forward to this.
Due out July the 9th next year.
I'm really looking forward to this, and I really can't wait to see stuff from it.
So,
because it's a character I know really nothing about, but I really like the idea of a martial arts film within the MCU.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be wrong because, hell, I've been wrong before, and it's something I know nothing about. Ten Rings, is this related to the terrorist organization? Okay. From the Iron Man series.
Which is great, because it means we could potentially get the real Mandarin that we know exists out there, and seeing kind of him.
Yeah, Trevor Slattery. That's who I want.
But yeah, this film is one that I'm really excited for, because I'm like, I really want to see what this looks like.
Sure.
Because they've got some really good people in there. And like I've seen like behind the scenes stuff of like the choreographers and stuff are proper martial art kind of choreographers. And
yes.
So they've really got...
I think they're trying to take some inspiration from Asian cinema and
also learning lessons from Iron Fist where they didn't do that.
Potentially from Mulan. Because the big criticism that was leveled against Mulan was it is a Westerner's idea of an Eastern story. And I wonder how much of that is going to feed into it. And they've maybe in the last year tried to sort of...
So yeah, I'm very interested in this one.
The reason it's dark, by the way, is just because the cloud coverage is insane right now. Because I did look up and I was like, it can't be this dark. Yeah, it's only 2:20 when we're recording. It is like
almost pitch black in this room.
Whoa, Vin Diesel.
Hey guys, it's
okay, good. So that's right. I just laughed like Baby Bowser. After that, so Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is out on the 25th of March, 2022.
Yep.
Which is going to tie in with WandaVision and the next multiverse stuffed Spider-Man movie, which is due out Christmas next year.
Yeah. Which
we had some casting rumors / news for this. Well, the last 3 weeks. Alfred Molina has apparently joined the cast.
Love Alfred Molina.
Which is great, obviously, because Spider-Man 2 is still the best Spider-Man movie. Yeah, I'm really excited for the future of the Spider-Man movies, but also for, Sam Raimi getting to come back and do another superhero movie. Because he did a good job of those Spider-Mens.
Yeah.
And I think he fundamentally understands the movies he wants to make.
And his Doctor Strange is something that he wanted to do anyway. So it could be really cool.
Yes. Let's have a look. What else have we got going on? Now, this is the one you're most excited about, Ms. Marvel.
I love the character.
So this is starring Aman Vellani as Kamala Khan, the Pakistani-American teen in New Jersey. Tell us a little bit about it.
So she's in the book. She's an Inhuman who basically gets these powers and then styles herself off Captain Marvel and kind of gets the name from that. And her powers basically means like she can, I think it's called embiggening, is the way they refer to it, which is her limbs and stuff can get bigger, like her hands can get giant, and she can stretch.
Okay, so I saw this in the footage of the Marvel's Avengers video game, because she's the main character of that issue, or there's a solo story that sort of focuses around there. And I looked at it, I was like, is this just like because the way they did it in that seemed like it was kind of Mr. Fantastic style.
Yeah, and it is that kind of thing. And I think she refers to it as embiggening.
Okay.
But she's a very fun character. She is a young person who has...
Is this a recent series?
So, relatively, yes. Like, we're talking probably like 2015, I want to say.
Okay, so yeah, very
within
modern.
the last 10 years, it came back. And she became like this fan favourite because she's not only a fresh of breath air. Mm-hmm. Did I say that right?
A fresh of breath air.
I stopped in my tracks because I was like, that's wrong, and I can't figure out why.
My brain was willing to let it run, but I knew something was wrong. It was Uncanny Valley. It was almost right, but not quite.
But she's like great. Like, she's funny. She's this kind of character that can come into this universe, and she sees like the Avengers and stuff like that for what they are, which is she wants them to be these kind of beacons of hope.
Yeah.
And actually, how does that affect you when really all you want to do is be this great superhero and be helpful, but actually at the same time, you've got to deal with the fact that you are in a family and you can't always be that person.
Yeah.
She is a great character, and I think what's also interesting is having Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series, and I know we're going to mention Ironheart series, which is Riri Williams. You're kind of building a Young Avengers thing that you could then put on the screen, because those characters have all been part of that. But yeah, I think this is probably the series I'm looking forward to the most, because I really like that character, and I think she's great not only for representation but also just something new.
Well, Iman Vellani is also now confirmed to be co-starring in Captain Marvel 2, which is directed by Nia DaCosta, who's going to be directing the Candyman update that they're doing, the one that I've been looking forward to for the whole year. Yes, Hawkeye. November 22nd is Captain Marvel 2's release date, apparently. That's soon.
Yeah, they've been filming during lockdown, I think, as well.
Hawkeye, the Disney Plus series starring Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, and now finally confirmed Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, as you just mentioned.
I never realised she had been confirmed until suddenly she just started appearing on set.
Yeah. I don't think she was confirmed until the Investor Day.
Yeah.
But the photos of her on set had already been leaked at that point.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an open secret that if she isn't Kate Bishop, then she's on the set playing an archer, and you only got a couple.
And the great stuff about this is it seems like it's going to be drawing heavily from My Life as a Weapon. The Hawkeye series, I think it's My Life as a Weapon anyway, which is fantastic.
You've talked about this before, I think.
It's one of the best series I've read in recent times.
Okay.
We'll see whether it lives up to that.
Tatiana Maslany is confirmed.
You tried to get out of it, but you're still there.
She's confirmed as playing She-Hulk in the She-Hulk series, which is also going to star Mark Ruffalo and Tim Roth.
Abomination. Finally, we're referencing that Hulk film.
Yes. Marvel also mentioned but kept things vague about its plans for the Moon Knight TV series, which Oscar Isaac has been rumoured to be attached to, but they did not confirm it. Secret Invasion series reunite Captain Marvel's Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be the Skrulls have invaded and implemented, because obviously they're shapeshifters, they can kind of infiltrate humanity. And how do you kind of go through that? It might kind of
fill in the gaps of between Captain Marvel 1 and 2, maybe.
It's a huge storyline and a huge event, and it'll be interesting to see kind of whether this builds to something more. Yeah. Whether this is just going to be sidelined.
But the Skrulls are the good guys in the film series, at least now, right? Because that is Ben Mendelsohn's character.
Yes.
He's the leader of them. And they were seen as refugees in that movie, was that right?
Yeah. They
were displaced from their home. Ironheart series. So you mentioned this earlier. Riri Williams is the character, played by Dominique Thorne. Tell us about this.
So, from memory, I've never actually read anything, but she is a girl who basically builds her own Iron Man suit, and is smart enough to kind of build her own Iron Man suit,
right?
And then basically takes on the kind of Iron Man role, because if I remember rightly, when she came about at that point, Tony Stark is dead in the comics.
Okay,
but his voice is maybe in the suit or something. I don't know, but basically it's it's a way of having an Iron Man without having Iron Man.
Yeah, but again, it's kind of building this sort of young Avengers, as you said, and I suppose that's sort of like we've wondered on this before. Sort of, where do you take this cinematic universe now?
Yeah.
And the way you take it is you develop these characters in their TV series on Disney Plus, and then you give them their own independent films, probably, because it's sort of the proving ground. I suppose they can work out what works and doesn't work, iron out maybe some of the kinks beforehand.
And it allows you to do stuff that's probably more low level.
Yeah, and you can blood them in a way that feels more organic.
Yeah.
Rather than just going, oh, here's a Ms. Marvel movie. Oh, okay, I didn't know anything about this. But now you've got the series, and then you introduce her in the films in Captain Marvel.
Absolutely.
It kind of makes more sense. In the same way that they did with Spider-Man when they introduced him in Civil War.
Yeah, all interweaves.
Don Cheadle's coming back to play War Machine in a series called Armor Wars, which is about Tony Stark's tech falling into the wrong hands.
Well, the reason that's kind of a nice idea is the one fear we know from Tony Stark, he mentions it in Iron Man 3, is what happens if somebody gets his technology.
Yeah.
And he was always terrified of his suits basically being used as weapons around the world. It kind of also is done in Iron Man 2 with the whole Justin Hammer stuff of like...
And in Avengers 2.
Yeah, and it's always this thing of just being like, I want to protect the world, but I'm also terrified that I'm not doing it well.
Yeah.
And this is a storyline where basically he takes out people who are, or takes the technology from people who've stolen it, but because we haven't got him, using Don Cheadle as that role is a smart idea.
James Gunn is directing Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special.
Because why not?
Whilst basically they're filming that whilst filming Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And Disney Plus is making an I Am Groot series of shorts.
Hey guys, it's me, Vin Diesel. I'm doing Baby Groot again.
So, new things about the big upcoming films. Marvel confirmed Christian Bale is joining the next Thor film, Love and Thunder.
Very interesting.
He's playing a villain called Gore the God Butcher, who kills gods.
Yep.
Because God killed his family or something, or God couldn't stop his family from dying, so that he kills them to prove a point.
Gods are here to protect us, but they don't do their job. So what is the point in gods?
Let's kill them all.
I'll go and kill them.
And Tessa Thompson confirmed that Valkyrie will be sitting on the throne of Asgard in the next movie. Mahershala Ali is starring in the Blade film and revealed that Peyton Reed will come back for the... Why did he confirm? Oh, it was also confirmed. Sorry, it's two separate thoughts, but there's no punctuation here. A reveal that Peyton Reed will come back for the next Ant-Man film dubbed Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Nice.
Which will bring Catherine Newton as Cassie Lang. I'm presuming that's his daughter?
Yes, so they've changed the actress that's going to be playing his daughter.
For the third time?
Yeah, because technically they brought her back in...
yes. But obviously the snap means she's 5 years older now, so she can't be played by the same actress who...
Well, no, because they put an older version into Infinity War, didn't they?
Well, that's what I mean. Wasn't that a separate actress, the one who played her in the first film?
Yeah, because she's a child in that.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is now a different person playing that same role, but I don't know when Quantumania is actually set.
Presumably immediately afterwards.
After Infinity War, which means they've just changed the actress.
Yeah, because Catherine Newton's a bigger star than whoever played her in the second one.
Person.
Wow, brutal. And Jonathan Majors is playing Kang the Conqueror. Jonathan Majors is good.
Yes.
He just cropped up in something I watched, I think. Anyway, final bit of news is... Maybe final bit of news? I don't know. Well, we know about Black Panther obviously not recasting and just sort of trying to move on without Chadwick Boseman's presence in the film, but honouring it in some way by doing something. But they've confirmed they're not going to be digitally recreating him. They're not going to have any sort of performance capture stuff that's going to have been done. So that is a good thing, I think. Yes. I think everyone's on the same side with that. Yes, and John Watts is directing a new Fantastic Four movie. I believe that the rights have reverted to Marvel exclusively from Fox, even though obviously Fox owned them in full anyway. Oh, well, that'll be why. They've bought Fox.
Got Fox, yeah.
Sorry. I was there like, it's the same as the Spider-Man situation. And I went, no, Sony have Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So yes, this is because they now have the rights exclusively because they bought Fox. So they're able to do the Fantastic Four movie. So John Watts, who's the director of the Spider-Man movies, is now going to be directing this. And this actually this actually calls back to, remember when we started reporting on the Spider-Man issues last year, there was a to and fro over the future of John Watts, and it was because Marvel were trying to poach him away from Sony and trying to get him, if they continued doing Spider-Man 3 on their own, they want to
keep John Watts.
Get John Watts instead of Sony and make him sign an exclusivity contract with them rather than with Sony.
This is a really smart move. I think John Watts is very good at what he does, and his style that he's shown in the Spider-Man movies would suit a Fantastic Four movie really well.
Yeah.
I think it's almost inevitable that I think it's probably going to be John Krasinski in that film. Like, the universe seems to be aligning for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's like him and Emily Blunt, because that's kind of what's been said.
That's the fan casting.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially John Krasinski, because I think he would do the role pretty well as well. And him being in a John Watts movie, we know he's got that kind of balance between he can do the dramatic and he can do the fun.
I say bring back Kevin Bacon.
Oh, bring back Kevin Bacon.
Because, so he directed Kevin Bacon in Cop Car, which I've never stopped going on. It's really good. But yeah, I'd be interested to see Kevin Bacon in some kind of role in a Fantastic Four movie. He can do comedy, he can do serious, he's good.
Is that
and he can provide free mobile phones for everyone. That's everything.
Digitized Rita Ora as the bad guy.
She's the bad guy of my dreams at the moment, because that's fucking terrifying. That is everything, basically, that came out of it. It's a lot of news.
Yeah, we knew this was going to be long, and this is why we split this from the reviews. And, we hope that some interesting stuff was in there, and there's some, at least, insight that you liked.
Yeah.
We try our best.
Well, like I say, it's a skip episode. If you're not interested in the fallout of the Warner Brothers move, and if you're not really interested in the Disney Investor Day thing, these will be the two things that I list in the title. Yeah. So, if you see that, it's too late, isn't it?
Yeah, if you've got to this point, you've probably heard the episode and gone, oh no, you said that at the top.
But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff to break down. Obviously, we knew that by doing a couple of special episodes in a row, it meant that we were going to have to backlog stuff. We just didn't anticipate there was going to be this much stuff.
We got a lot of shit to review next time, though, guys.
So we'll be back later on.
Yeah. There'll be an episode next week. Yeah. It'll either be around Christmas Day or it'll be just after. It'll be one of those two. Yeah. We'll decide it at some point.
But yeah, it'll be packed full of reviews, so we'll do all that. That'll be the... This is the multi-grain... This is the whole bran, And those are the raisins.
But guys, until next time, find us everywhere at Dinosaur Man 15, on Facebook, Dinosaur Man Podcast, and on YouTube for the same name. Please subscribe, share it with your friends. Johnny Neves did the theme song.
Yes, he did.
This week it was long and dry.
This wasn't dry, was it? I don't know. Okay. Can I just ask you one thing?
Didn't run on.
Can I ask you one thing? Yes. Out of all of the stuff that came out of the Disney Investor thing, what is the one thing that you'll want to see? If you could only see one thing, what is it? Ms. Marvel?
Maybe Shang-Chi.
Yeah?
Because I know nothing about it. Okay. I'm a Marvel boy.
John Watts is Fantastic Four for me. I think he's just, I like him a lot.
I'm very interested to see what the fuck this Spider-Man 3 is.
Yeah, the amount of names that are being thrown at Spider-Man 3 is a case now of just like, how much can this sustain?
But
we'll see.
There's a lot.
So, as always, find us there, all those places. Andy, you've been the host.
Alex, you've also been the host.
I've been the news pig, as you know.
And guys, until next time.
We apologise.
I'm going to continue playing Cyberpunk 2076.
I'm going to start developing. I'm going to start developing Cyberpunk 2078.
Whoa!
Another 8 years of development.
It's only bugs.
What, you have to pay to see photos of ladybirds? Is that good?
No.
Bye, guys.